true about you?
I think three simple answers to that are husband, father, and patriot. It's pretty black and white. It's the DNA, and it's who you are, and so you rise to those occasions in terms of what you're made of and what you're built of, and blessed to have a terrific bride. Excuse me. We've got three beautiful children, and I guess sort of became a patriot without really knowing it, and it just sort of kind of evolved over the last almost 20 years, as you mentioned.
So, was there a moment early in your career when you realized finance would give you power, but not necessarily meaning?
Yeah, that's a great question. So originally went to school to be an aerospace engineer, and grew up learning how to sailboat racing sailboats in upstate New York, and fell in love with the America's Cup. It's the biggest thing. It's like the Super Bowl for sailboats, and thought I want to design the next America's Cup winning boat. And went to college and realized not really cut out to be an aerospace engineer. So kind of thought, where's my real passion, where are my interests, and became a dual major in both economics and political science. So not real deep finance, but more on the policy side and sort of that macro thinking of it. But then as I went to graduate college, I thought, well, am I going to Washington or Wall Street? And, had massive student loans. And so the answer was quite simple. I had to pay back those loans. And so, found my calling to Wall Street.
So, you said to pay back those loans. You spent nearly 16 years trading derivatives, high stakes, high pressure. What did that environment teach you about human behavior?
Don't ever let them see you sweat. It's just like the old commercial says. There were a lot of situations like that. There's about three or four specific ones I remember during different, we'll call them financial events. Certainly the financial crisis, the attacks of 9/11, a few other, global scenarios that came into play. And the products that I traded, basically traded 24 hours a day, almost about 20 hours really. And so you would every now and get that random phone call from Tokyo or Hong Kong overnight where something was happening and you had to step in. I live in Connecticut, and so was up at 4 o'clock every day on the 5 o'clock train at my desk at 6:15 and started trading at 7. And so you just sort of got into that routine. You knew what you had to do. You'd read and see what's happening in the markets overnight. You'd look and see what sort of policy was going to affect the markets that day, whether it was US or something in Asia or Europe. And so, looking back at my academic beginnings in my undergraduate career, having that dual major in economics and political science really enabled me, I think, to survive and thrive in that trading environment, because having that dual major allowed me to understand what was happening on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, as well as the front page of the Washington Post. And post-financial crisis, and today more than ever, Wall Street and K Street in Washington intersect, more than they've ever done before. And so having that policy understanding as well as the real world economic understanding has led me to the places I've been in my career.
Some of our not guests, but listeners, most of them are veterans, but a lot of them are not, politically savvy or, financially, they don't necessarily have that background. Can you explain what derivatives?
Sure. Derivatives, it's a fancy word. It's all it is. And a derivative is an investment that is derived from something else. And so what I mean by that is I trade exchange traded funds, or I used to, excuse me. And so an exchange trade fund trades like a stock. So it trades like Apple or Google or Tesla. But it's a security that holds a bunch of other securities within it. So it's one specific investment, but it'll have 15 other securities within it. So it's like a wrapper, if you will. And so you'll have a fraction of a share of each one of these other companies. And so you can have an exchange trade fund that could have a little bit of Apple, a little bit of Amazon, a little bit of General Motors, a little bit of ExxonMobil, whatever it may be. And so that's what a derivative is. It's just a product that's
Okay. So, we've obviously had multiple business cycle financial crises throughout our history in the US, but what's something Wall Street gets wrong about risk? Not financial risk, but human risk.
a great question. And I wish you'd asked me that before so I could prep a little bit.
I
It's,
don't like
I
guys
would
to
say,
prep. I just want
no,
to
I
I want to
know.
keep it real.
I, Human nature is fear. Everyone works hard for their money and everyone's afraid of losing their money. And so most people don't invest. They'll stick it under their mattress. They'll keep it in the savings account. And also what Wall Street gets wrong is that I forget the exact number, but it's over 95% of the United States population has less than one paycheck in the bank.
Scary.
And it's beyond scary. So you think about the COVID crisis. People were out of work, people were furloughed, people were laid off. And so, the government stepped in and you had, a certain amount of pay from that. But still, how do people survive? Wall Street survives because they make money off of other people. That's their job. And what they get wrong is they think they know what's best for individuals. And they tell people what's best for individuals. They don't listen. And there's an old saying that we've heard a lot of people much wiser than me, say that God gave you, 2 ears and one mouth. And so keep your mouth shut and your ears open and listen.
So when you say that, boy, it brings up so many things, and not to go down this, this political rabbit hole, but, right now with the Affordable, or not the Affordable Care Act, but, Obamacare, whatever you want to call it, with these premiums going up, and I'm not here to say who's right or wrong, but these people that are living, possibly a savings of one paycheck, that's a big bump in their human risk.
It's a huge bump, and it's something that people don't plan for because you're not aware of it. You don't think about it, and then all of a sudden, boom, there it is. My daughter, who's 22 years old, and she just graduated